Hey, Teannabranae here, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Today we are going to do a video for Autism Acceptance Month. I know the month is half over and I'm just now doing this video, but I go back and forth in my head pretty often about whether or not I want to film videos surrounded by my son's diagnosis. But I figured Autism Acceptance Month is the perfect time to do it. So we're going to just do a video about their birth journey, about getting that diagnosis and what to do, or helpful tips stuff that I think is helpful during that process. So the first tip, document even the small milestones. This is something my husband and I wish we knew before we got our son's diagnosis. A lot of times when you are taught to document milestones, it's when they start walking, when they say their first words, when they start holding a spoon, when did they start crawling, like it's the typical stuff. You don't think about the stuff like, when is the first time you saw them track you across the room? When is the first time you saw them respond when you said their name? When is the first time you saw them stare at something and respond with a proper emotion? Like that kind of stuff that you think that everybody is going to do, so it doesn't matter per se. That's the stuff that we wish we would have documented, because we've done a lot of questionnaires and like intake forms after we started getting the ball rolling in terms of getting him a diagnosis, whether that be from doctors, whether that be speech therapists, occupational therapists, BCBAs, whatever the case may be. We weren't even his school, because he is an IEP student because of his diagnosis, we weren't expecting certain things to be important. So while we have the general stuff of when he said his first word, when he took his first steps, when he first started to crawl, we have like that stuff. But the small details that you don't think are important, that's the stuff we wish that we would have kept a better record for. And if we choose to have more children moving forward, so now we know what to look for and what stuff we should be documenting. But our first time going through this process, if you're the first time your child rolls over, you think it's a feat, but it's just some stuff other than that basic stuff that you don't think is important, or at least we didn't. And so that's my first thing. Document everything. If I was telling somebody what to do today, I would say, go on one of those autism checklist sites and print out that checklist. And wherever you have your baby book where you're documenting when they took their first steps, you're documenting when they said their first word, look through that checklist on it. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay if it's not perfect. But look through that checklist on occasion and make sure you are seeing, okay, he first made eye contact with me at this age. He first responded to a gesture I did at this age. Whatever is on that checklist, you guys will see it when you print one out. But it's just stuff that you think is common sense. And that's the kind of stuff that you kind of need to know when you're going through the process of trying to get a diagnosis for your child. And that's the stuff we wish we would have had more detail on. My second tip for you all is to develop a trustworthy network of doctors and specialists. Don't take the nose. You know what I'm saying? If you see something going on with your child, make sure you have trustworthy doctors around your child so that you can tell them. And even if it's nothing to be concerned with at the moment, they still make a note of it. They still are giving you tips of what you could do. So you want to be able to get your child in a trustworthy environment of specialists and doctors, even if they already have gotten their diagnosis, if they are in speech therapy, if they're in occupational therapy, if they're in behavioral therapy, whatever the case may be. It's okay to be like, no, I'm not comfortable with this facility. No, I'm not comfortable with this specialist. I'm going to take my child wherever else. You have that right. Don't feel like you're stuck at a certain practice or with a certain team of doctors just because that's who you started with. It's okay to be like, no, I'm gonna go somewhere else. My kid deserves this. Number 3, more than one opinion is okay. If you get your child evaluated and you don't agree with that diagnosis, it's okay to go somewhere else. If you feel like your child has something going on and the specialist is telling you they don't, it's okay to go somewhere else. Don't feel like you get this one opinion and from this one specialist and that's it. You, like I said, back to number 2, a trusted network. If this therapist says something you don't agree with, whether it's bad or good, it doesn't matter. Either way it leans. It's okay to be like, you know what, I want to see what this person says. Because at the end of the day, especially if you are like me and you are raising a Black child, the world is not as nice to Black boys with diagnoses, whatever. They're not as nice. And so we have to be very careful what environment we put our child into and what we open him and expose him to. So however many opinions you feel like you need within reason, don't just run from a diagnosis. But make sure the people who you put in place to diagnose your child does their due diligence. If you don't agree with something, speak up. Don't let it ride. Don't let it just... You are your child's biggest advocate and you have to stand firm with that. Even if you're scared, reach out to social workers who deal with children with special needs, because they are there and they can support you through that process, because I understand it is not easy. Advocating for a whole nother human being is not easy, especially when it's your first time doing it. But your child, you owe it to your child to at least fight for whatever the thing is. Number 4, look for a support system. One thing I found out very quickly was going through this is that I ain't trying to be mean if anybody in my family watches, but a lot of times your family is not going to be your support system if they are not also going through it. Like, and that's not me to be offensive, and I apologize if you do find that offensive, but it's just, family is not always the best option for a support system in terms of navigating your new life and your new normal and what your life will look like moving forward and what your child's life will look like moving forward. So it's important to find a community where you feel like you can open up to these people, you can tell these people your struggles, and they are giving you good sound advice or helpful tips or useful information. And sometimes your family or even your friends, if they're not experiencing it with you the same way you are, it kind of feels like an echo chamber, like you're not getting anything useful back. So I joined a Facebook group. You can join Facebook groups, you can join community organizations. If you have peers who you know on social media, or interact with in real life who are also experiencing life with special needs children, you can join a community with them. It's all about finding a useful and helpful form of support to where you feel like somebody hears you, somebody sees you, somebody acknowledges your pain and your struggle, and it's not dismissed. Or even like with me being a stay-at-home mom, because I do primarily take care of Julian, it's a lot of people assuming that I have all this free time to do stuff for them or to make myself available to them in whatever kind of way. And it comes from a place of them being naive and thinking that Teanna is just living it up over there at home. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. So it is very important to make sure you have a community of people who understand what you're going through and is willing to be in the trenches with you, and y'all help each other and work with each other and understand each other and bounce ideas off each other and everything of the sort. And then that takes us to number 5. Don't listen to people just because they're your family. One thing I saw pretty early on when we were struggling with Julian, I would say, I feel like he should be doing this by now. I feel like he should have outgrown this by now. And a lot of people put it back on me and my husband. It was a lot of, well, you aren't working hard enough too. You all need to do a better job at. And I guess especially in the Black community, because we don't get our kids evaluated, we don't, like, all of that stuff is kind of shunned. There's this idea of there's nothing wrong with your child, because my son isn't nonverbal. My son, he stems here and there, but he's not a heavy stemmer. Like, he doesn't present the way a lot of people feel like he should as an autistic child. So a lot of times amongst family, his diagnosis is kind of dismissed. And I don't want people to think that that's okay. So if you are in a family and you're experiencing, ain't nothing wrong with him, ain't nothing wrong with her, she's fine. You spoil her, that's what's wrong. You spoil him, you coddle them, it's okay to feel like something deeper is going on, and it's okay to want to get help for your child. Don't let that family member who low-key has nothing to do with your life, low-key has nothing to contribute helpful to your situation, do not let them discourage you and talk you out of getting your child evaluated. Because in the long run, it's better for you to think something is going on and find out that nothing is going on than to think something is going on and just never find out. Put your child at a disadvantage, and you just make life harder for them to appease so-and-so who does not really matter. All right. And then the last tip, number 6. Remember to breathe, and that it's going to be okay. It can be quite overwhelming, and it's stressful. It is. It heightened my anxiety. I don't know about everybody else's, but mine for sure. And a lot of times I find myself thinking, like, can I still do this stuff? Can I take him here? I don't want to freak him out. He doesn't like this kind of environment. He doesn't do well around this amount of people. And I amp up my own anxiety even more, and he can feel it, and it's not a good situation. So it's important to breathe. Take deep breaths. Find moments of solitude. It's going to be okay. Me and my husband, we're getting to that place of like having a system for him. Getting a year later, it's getting better. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to be perfect? No. It's never going to be perfect. But just listen to your child. You're like I said, you're your child's biggest advocate. You know what they want. You know what they need. Trust your instincts. And you got this. Alright, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys found these 6 tips to be very helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff down below. Let me know what you guys want to see in the video down below as well. We could talk about some things. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.